Let's take the hypothetical one step further. Let's say the person didn't just have oral testimony. Let's say they had actual concrete evidence, like a video or real documentation of the reality of, let's say, alien bodies or something like that. Would that be would that change anything? And they released it to the world somewhere else. Like, it would still be the same problem, right?
See, they both shook their head. They're like, no, that would alien body. That's what we're waiting for. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the public, like, that's what we're waiting for. That's like the golden egg is the alien body, the disclosure day, the disclosure day drop. That's what we want. That's what the tranches. That's why we're digging in. That's why billions of people have been going in the tranches and trying to dig in, is because they want to see that video. They want that video. And for just so easily for be like, nah, I won't, no. What do you mean? Like, I would love to see that video. Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Astral. Have a bunch of clips to go over today. A lot happening in the last 24 hours. We had Matthew Brown recently came out on a podcast with Leslie Kean and Jeff Nusatelli. So I'm going to go over a bunch of clips talking about UAP whistleblowers. Eric Burleson has come out with a statement in support of the executive branch and their avenues to bring in UAP whistleblowers in his attempt to make them feel comfortable. So it seems like, again, like we're just talking about this at odds type of thing with the messages that are being sent out here publicly, even from Grush to Matthew Brown and then Eric Burleson. Will they all be able to get on the same page? I don't know. We'll see. But I do want to go over a bunch of clips. So I want to just jump right into it with Matthew Brown. And this was recently on, so let me pull that up. So I think there was a lot discussed on the podcast with Leslie Kean. It was an AMA with Reddit. So a lot of the questions were coming from Reddit users. And there were some good questions in there. He covered, I think, a lot of concerns. A lot of it was just the concerns that whistleblowers have. And this was one of the points that I think were made in this, is that for summary, I don't think Matthew Brown wants whistleblowers to come forward, which is pretty strange, being the circumstance that he's bringing this information out on a podcast as a whistleblower, going through the process. So here's him talking about that and his recommendation.
If you're on the inside, I wouldn't really recommend reporting anything at this point. It seems to be quite a hostile environment. It was, for a brief period of time, somewhat opened, but that's, years in the past. So unless you have ironclad proof of wrongdoing, and we're lucky enough to obtain recordings of that wrongdoing and can obtain a lawyer to defend you through years of court cases, and can identify trustworthy parties at the FBI or a similar law enforcement body to bring your complaint to. Unfortunately, I think you're better off trusting your long-term coworkers, your let's just say groups that you might be involved with, if possible, and playing it safe.
Playing it safe and ironclad evidence. So, I think that's not a good message for potential whistleblowers that are on the fence about this. And I think this is more of a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't necessarily give a blanket statement for all whistleblowers, because, again, this is third-hand information that we're talking about here. Matthew Brown is not a direct first-hand witness of any of this. So Those are the people that I want to hear about, and what are the concerns there. I think those are two different levels of whistleblower, but it is interesting that he's coming on and basically saying, if you are on the inside in this, he doesn't recommend coming out. So I'll just go right into the next clip. We'll kind of run through some of these, and I'll just do a little bit here and there on discussion on them.
Part of that operation was designed to fabricate evidence for myself and Dylan Borland and others committing treason and espionage against the United States government, charges that carry, in the extreme, the death penalty.
Okay, so he's talking about the person here this ODNI officer who was trying to catch them or charge them or get them in trouble, basically set the trap for them to come in. And he's describing who that is, who that person is.
Those charges, those files, those documentations have not gone anywhere. In fact, the agent responsible for this, again, shameful operation, after it was exposed to the public, it received a promotion to the Intelligence Community Inspector General, where they now actually oversee all UAP whistleblower intake, past, present, and future. A very compelling reason to not trust really any organization right now with UAP whistleblower testimony, as long as these actions have not been redressed. Part of that.
What I just wonder, what does he want to happen? Like, how does he want all operations to stop and be like, this was the wrongdoing, this needs to be taken care of before anything happened, before we go get the spaceship? Arrow needs to clear this with ODNI and figure this out and bring in the FBI. Like, I just don't know what he wants to happen. So he's recommending nobody come forward until somebody, bro, you're not even naming the person. You're not even naming the person of who it is. How is anybody supposed to do anything? And that's my thing is, why aren't you naming this person? This is obviously a gatekeeper, right? An important person that's preventing stuff, was intimidating you, trying to get you in trouble. Did you sign an NDA that you're prevented from naming this person? Why can't you just name who it is? I don't think NDAs would cover not naming a person that changes positions within the government. How would that be? Is that classified information? Are you prevented from saying when this person is able to change jobs ever for the rest of his life, for the rest of this person's life? He's not able to be identified. I bet if you did a real search into the ICIG, I just don't know how this person being in this position, like, okay, so a whistleblower should go in now and say, hey, I'm so-and-so. Who are you? Well, I am this. Well, this is the person in charge of receiving I just don't know why this is such a mystery that can't be exposed. If you're trying to expose, this is the thing with the whistleblowers, dude. And then there's people, they're gonna sit on here for hours and talk about transparency. The transparency is being able to name the person, bring it to account, take them to task on it, and subpoena and shit. Like, like if we're not gonna reveal the names of the people who need to be subpoenaed, then what are we going to be able to do other than, guess who it is? Are people just going to guess? So I think that was a frustrating thing, is like, you're trying to call this dude out. Like, we're going to do some secret investigation and figure out who it is. Just name him. Just name it. George Knapp is like the only person who I've seen going on record during the congressional hearings and naming some of the gatekeepers. I think he was directly asked, like, who are the gatekeepers? Who are these people? And he's like, so-and-so, I forgot who he said, but he put people on the record. It was like Glenn Gaffney or something like that. And, but still, at least he's going on record and naming it. I think it's just it's a little bit of a cop-out to like set this all up and like know exactly who this guy is and that he's taking these other positions and how he's moving. And then you just don't want to name him for anybody else to figure it out. Like, it's some super secret investigation that's going on behind the scenes with the UFO whistleblowers. Like, we're following this guy, but we can't expose who it is. I don't see it. I don't see how that's going on. All right. So let's just go to the next one. This is actually an interesting one. He goes into, somebody asked him about like the intentions and, what's behind the non-human intelligence itself. And he goes into a little bit. And again, I think this is a little bit more based off of research that he's done and less about what he discovered right in this position.
I think longer term, I definitely am more concerned about the NHI intentions.
Yeah.
That's a really broad bucket. So, more to narrow it down to specific groups of them. It seems at least some of them have been present on Earth for a very long time, but they do not maintain an open relationship with humanity, except for very discrete encounters with leadership and humans through the sort of abduction or experiencer modalities. And those certainly, while some people claim to have very positive interactions, there's a very large amount that have the opposite, especially women, who seem to, unfortunately, get the worst of it, and over a very long period of time. So I'm very concerned about that. If it's true that there has been genetic interventions on humanity at certain points in our evolution, well, I would very much want to know what is the intent behind those interventions.
All right, just right there. If it's true, bro, shouldn't you isn't he supposed to have inside information whether any of this is true? That's the thing to me, is he's literally going, I think all of these guys, every one of them, they're on the same level that we are. They don't know. They don't know what's going on behind the scenes with the phenomenon. So they saw a couple documents, and I'll go into later about the actual document, and that's the foundation of what Matthew Brown, is bringing to the table here. That's a little bit concerning to me about recently what Ross Coulthart and Gerb and Grush have been saying. And I just, just the wording, he's very careful with his words. He thinks about what he says, and I think refrains a lot from going into any of this. But then he also speculates a lot on what if, while at the same time trying to frame this like he has knowledge, he has a definite knowledge of, when I don't think that's the case. And this whole thing about this abductions, he's presenting this as if he's in almost the know about it. And then he'll slide in of like, if this is actually a thing and real, and it's like, all right, man, like, I don't think you have the inside knowledge to be able to be definite in your statements of abductions or anything like that. So I don't know. That's one thing that I caught from this.
What is being, added, removed, suppressed, or enhanced in humanity, and for what reasons? I don't have answers, but that's where, this is a journey of discovery, right? And that's kind of where I am at is again, what are the long-term intentions of the NHI present on Earth towards humanity?
Yeah, I mean, interesting perspective. And I think it would be good to know, like all whistleblowers, even people, like earlier when Jason Sands came out and others like that, of what they learned inside their position within the government, right? Like when they were in their position with clearances and looking at this stuff and official documents, and then what they learned outside and when they became a part of the UFO topic, because then they're being bombarded with stuff. I guarantee you, when Matthew Brown was at Contact in the Desert and all of these congressional things and having the beers at the bars with everyone and hanging out, and like there's stories, there's the abductions being shared, like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's important to distinguish where you got the information, more so than anybody else. If you're coming out as a whistleblower, I think it should be like, that should be the standard of defining, okay, when I was in this position, this is what I learned. But as I've come out in the topic and I've tried to learn more about it, this is what I've learned, okay? And this is separate from, because it's hard to separate the two, because you start talking about abductions and you're like, well, was abductions in Immaculate Constellation? Was that the deep thing where if entities that we're dealing with, were they fighting back and forth and all the stuff that you're just talking about? Is it a what if of conversations in which you've had, which you can't confirm, or this official documents that are going into abductions or that our government was actually studying? So I think that is key, I think, for me, when just with the whistleblowers in general, of what they're bringing to the table. I like the discussions on NHI and the intentions of NHI. It's a highly debated topic within the UFO community. I'm not big on abductions and the credibility behind abductions. I think there's probably been a lot of negative experiences that people have had, also interpretations that people have had of experiences that are indifferent. They're not necessarily good or bad. I think if you were to see how we interact with animals across the globe, it's a little bit of indifferent. Like, you're not going out to your fucking back of the woods and like caring about some squirrel that's living. You know what I'm saying? You're not like waking up every day and like checking in on the squirrel that's in your backyard and like the family out there, spiders or something. You know what I'm saying? So like I think we're just like living alongside, just like we would, and other species would be doing that as well. It could be good, it could be bad. I like the conversation. I think I love hearing stories of people's experiences when they communicate, and the communication and the experiences that they have with non-human its own. It's a fascinating part of the topic. So I'm glad to hear more of that. I like that, more of that discussion. This was probably the most interesting sound clip from the discussion. It was about, they get into the discussion of, what the impact would be of releasing evidence to the public, like what the best route would be to go for disclosure. And I thought it was interesting that Leslie Kean kind of put the scenario out there and the response to it.
Let's take the hypothetical one step further. Let's say the person didn't just have oral testimony. Let's say they had actual concrete evidence, like a video or real documentation of the reality of, let's say, alien bodies or something like that. Would that change anything? And they released it to the world somewhere else. Like, it would still be the same problem, right?
See, they both shook their head. They're like, no, that would alien body. That's what we're waiting for. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the public, like, that's what we're waiting for. That's like the golden egg, is the alien body, the disclosure day, the disclosure day drop. That's what we want. That's what the tranches. That's why we're digging in. That's why billions of people have been going in the tranches and trying to dig in, is because they want to see that video. They want that video. And for just so easily for be like, nah, I won't, no. What do you mean? Like, I would love to see that video, especially if it was released by the government. And they may be talking more of like catastrophically released, but still, that would, if it couldn't be debunked, and you give as much information as you can, the government, I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to leverage and like bluff our way to the video. But if so, Whistleblower had the video, yeah, release it. And yeah, I think it would make an impact. I do. Hit me in the comments to see if you would still think that would impact.
Again, we live in the age of, even before AI, CGI, videos apparently don't matter to the majority of people. You would, again, let your own government know that you have real stuff because they track it, and would be aware that, you're in possession of information. But it wouldn't create social change. It wouldn't create political change. You would be a footnote in history and probably end up in a cell or in the bottom of the ocean pretty quick.
Right.
Unfortunately, the best option.
Before he gets into that, I disagree again on this. I think that, look at the missile video. They didn't even need to identify themselves, but that completely changed the hearing and the press that got attention. Like, if there wasn't that video that dropped, and that, I think these guys, or Jeff Nisitelli was in that, he was in the hearing, and the video, they dropped the video. It was like dead drop to Eric Burleson, and they played the video in the missile, and it comes in the UAP, and so the impact that had just on the media coverage of the hearing was substantial to me. Like, that was the main reason why that got anything. Everybody was showing the video of what that was and what it was released. So to say that it's not going to have an impact and that the person would just be sacrificing themselves, I just don't think so. And you're like, you just, the old story throws shade where he's like, you'd just be a little blip in time. Like, damn. Like, to me, catastrophic disclosure is one of the only ways, like coordinated catastrophic disclosure all at the same time. So I don't know. This was just a confusing response.
And it's not a good option, is to stay here in your home and fight it out through the means that are provided to us. It's uncomfortable. There's not a lot of support. And who knows which way the political winds blow next for UAP whistleblowers. But fleeing to a different country and doing something like that is not acceptable.
So when are you going in with Eric Burleson? That's that has to be the next question, right? Like, where's the thing. When are you going in and seeing Eric Burleson? Because this is Eric Burleson. He's made a statement and he's come out and he said the Office of the Director of National Intelligence preliminary guidance for waiving UAP-related NDAs is opening up an important opportunity for individuals with relevant information to come forward. If you are a current or former government employee or contractor who has UAP information or has questions about how to pursue an NDA waiver, my office is here to help shepherd you through the process. We've launched a new whistleblower forum to make it easier to contact my office and get the assistance you need. So this should be pretty easy then, right? I feel like Matthew Brown was just saying the best strategy to do is to go with the flow, like go along with what's available. This is available, a direct line to Trump waiving the NDAs. But then he turns around and is like, I don't trust and think anybody should go into this process. So there's very conflicting messages to me of what is being portrayed. Like, how confused would you be looking at this? To me, if I were a whistleblower, I would be extremely confused about what's going on because these guys are all supposed to be working together. And there's mixed messages about if it's comfortable and safe for me to come in as a whistleblower to the government, because some whistleblowers are saying, no, don't come out and do catastrophic disclosure. Just work with the government, but don't work with the government because it's not ready to be worked with yet. So just, stay put. And I think the increasing frustration and anxiousness is going to hit on people to just come out, to just want to come out with the information. So I think that's, in a nutshell, I think that's just a lot of what is going on with me when I talk about and think about this situation. Is it just seems very confusing to be able to understand if whistleblowers do feel like these guys we hear from, okay? Like we hear from these guys all the time. I honestly don't really want to hear from these guys about the whistleblower stuff anymore. I want to hear about the firsthand whistleblowers, the guys who aren't on this picture, who have seen the craft, who have worked on it, who have actual knowledge of the documents, of the locations where they go. These guys are just like shooting in the dark with what they think they know, because they're so far removed from the program that they wouldn't have any knowledge, or it would be already moved, in my opinion. So I hope we can get more stuff in sources, even if people came out and they're like my sources that were firsthand whistleblowers, that's even better than we have now, I guess. But then people would be wanting to confirm that. How do we confirm the sources? So all right, Tom DeLonge
UAP files we've got.
Tom DeLonge is making a statement to where he would just mention this like off the cuff. No big deal about UFOs. People are clipping it like myself. So here's when he was on talking about his show, this other show that he does.
Love to get your opinion on the declassified UAP files we've gotten in the last few years, just because I think you're an interesting person to talk about that.
It's a big deal. I'm an active consultant on all of that stuff right now with the U.S. government, and it's just the beginning. I think we should get some of that in the show. I do remember we talked about a lot of Bigfoot ideas in this show, and
he's an active consultant. What does that even mean? Honestly, like, I think people are really wondering what does that mean as an active consultant? Is that on the tranches? Does that mean you're consulting the White House? There has to be some sort of follow up there, and I think the most frustrating part is like, DeLonge has been removed from the topic. He's no longer involved except for stuff like this, like little sound bites here and there. And he was a pretty big part in 2017 push with TTSA to get the topic on the mainstream radar. And he has since disappeared basically from it. And, we will take what we can get. I think eventually, my prediction is he'll eventually get on Jesse Michaels. I think he'll be comfortable enough, and Jesse Michaels will be big enough to where he'll go on Jesse Michaels and talk about UFOs for a couple, and that will be like the biggest episode fucking that episode will be huge. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to end up happening if it were up to me, or just my opinion. All right. Nusatelli talks about this thing called celebrity disclosure. I think it's interesting, his framing of this. I agree with it, but there's also some caveats to it too.
I'm encouraged that these very famous public figures are engaging the topic. I feel like it's some form of enculturation that the government.
They were talking about Dr. Phil before this, so a lot of this came about from talking about why like people like Dr. Phil were coming into the topic and big celebrities like that.
Government is leading that effort. You know, they've called these people in behind closed doors and given them, you know, access to some of this information, and then they're sent out into the media to spread the word. So it's encouraging on one hand, but I'm also becoming more and more leery of what I'm calling celebrity disclosure. I think there's a lot of danger in it. And I'm actually working on an article to try to lay out, my thoughts on that. And I'll be speaking about this topic more publicly coming up in September. But there's some danger in that, right? Because these celebrities have incredible influence, right? And, if they're getting inaccurate information from the government, because, the government has not been a good faith actor. I mean, full stop. In any domain, not just UFOs. I mean, COVID was a disaster and on, right? We're being misinformed by our government actively, right? So that's my primary concern is like, what is the real truth that the government knows that we do not? And, what truth are they putting in the heads of these celebrities that is later shared through mass media to the public? And it's not just the US public. What happens in the US spreads like wildfire all over the world, right? So we need to be cautious about celebrity disclosure.
I agree with him. I think he's got a good point in that more people who have bigger followings are going to come into the topic. I mean, we've talked about this for years of, those like Logan Paul and, James Franco has jumped on this. So it's just celebrities now, whether, this pastor meeting that happened and pastor influencers that are talking about the topic after, supposedly being met with people in the government and Eric Burleson and this meeting talking about the influence and the impact that disclosure will have of what it will reveal. So there's definitely concerns there. But that's really, I don't think that's any control of that. And what would actually curb that is scientific research. The problem is in a field where everything is based off of journalism, sensationalism, claims, and and things that just are, almost entertainment like that. It's going to be tough to prevent other people from just grabbing those who are looking for that content. I think even with Dr. Phil, you see it now. Dr. Phil, everything that he's done before that hasn't had the UFO topic involved, has had, certain number of numbers and views. And then now that he's doing the UFO topic, it's like 5 to 10 times the numbers. So doing content on the UFO topic and attention is going to get you more, content and views and stuff. That's just the nature of the game of how this is going. With the interest in the topic, the interest is growing so much. So whether or not the government is like planting people, I mean, Dr. Phil is a good example. He seems the thing is he just seems it's too good of a situation. It's, when things are too good, he just is like plucked out of nowhere before the 4th UFO tranche, gets early access directly from Trump, gets frustrated already off the bat, resonates with the public to be like, this isn't anything good. We need more accountability. And then to just jump in to the topic, interviewing David Grush like a month later, it's just crazy. The timing and the coordinated, it just looks very coordinated to me from the outskirts. And, it's a concern to the celebrity disclosure thing. I thought it was interesting, but also, look, I want to also talk about like some of the things that whistleblowers could be pushing could be disinformation or controlled disclosure. I make this point with Grush, Gerb, and Coldheart. All were coming out about Lou Elizondo, right? With Elizondo being this controlled disclosure, working with Clapper. Like that was this whole thing last month with them really coming out and reporting on the story. I felt like this was a report for the story that was calling out Lou Elizondo to try and prevent him from getting some sort of position within the government, UAPs or UFO czar. But them doing that in a way casts a little bit of shade of credibility on Matthew Brown, because the foundation of Matthew Brown's Immaculate Constellation claims is that the original document in which he found had Lou Elizondo on the cover. That was like, this is the leader of the UFO program, the ultimate secret thing. And so that being connected, I'm telling you, man, that has always for me been the one thing with Matthew Brown. And I even asked him this, dude. He was like posting a lot when he first came out. He was like posting merch and like kind of like jokingly about it all the time, and sort of was spammy even about it. So he started spamming my page. And so I asked him directly about it. I was like, yo, do you think you were given disinformation because Lou Elizondo was on the cover of the document in which you found? Do you think it could have been disinformation? He's like, could have. He couldn't say it wasn't. And to be honest, like it almost seems more so now because he reported it to his, his team, his higher ups, and they were like, oh no, don't believe that, it's bullshit, and then he ended up taking it even more serious because of that, because he thought that they were covering it up. So, and now Lou Elizondo is just his credibility from that being a thing 10 years ago. If you were to tell somebody that 10 years ago, the credibility of that is totally different than it is now. And now you've actively got people coming out and saying he's part of this controlled disclosure effort. Like Elizondo could have planted that shit. They could have all planted that. You know what I'm saying? Yankee Blue, all of this stuff. And so I think for us to like not look at that possibility even existing, and that if you bring it up, you're like attacking these. Like, I'm not attacking Matthew Brown. I think he's a good guy. It seems like he's got good intentions and is genuine about his experience. But damn, if this could have been some disinformation shit with Lou Elizondo involved, especially when you get that. And I think you have to reflect on that sometimes, man, of like, this is why this is so frustrating of a field. Because people start the mixed messages thing, just like with the Burleson and all this, and you're talking about Coldheart, and when they say certain things, it conflicts with other things that people in the field are saying that they're supposed to be supporting. And so, that's the confusing part. You got to sift through this. Discernment is so important here. And we did a space with Philip Mantle, which was cool. We did a space with Philip Mantle, old school UK researcher, man. He was actually really chill. It was a really cool space. He's up to it, or like he's on point still with his stuff. But he talked about discernment, how he had to build his discernment, and how he approaches everything skeptical, and that there's a prosaic explanation. He's got a really great approach, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed talking with Philip. That was cool. All right, let's what else have we got here? Gary Nolan talking about Skywatcher. Finally, he goes on record. We've talked about Skywatcher before. There's some big news about Skywatcher, bringing down intentionally some craft. Gary Nolan finally addresses, at least Skywatcher, the question of the data and scientific research. So I thought this was interesting.
And so, for instance, because it just comes up many times on Twitter, is although I can't talk about all of it on Skywatcher, is that was an attempt at the time to take matters into our own hands in a semi-military, semi-academic fashion to basically go.
See, that was weird. Semi-military, semi-scientific. That's like scary. I don't know. But then again, didn't he once say that there wasn't any military stuff there? Or I feel like they were making a big deal out of it. It wasn't militarized, and they're doing consciousness studies and all that. I don't know. I feel like him saying that, that stuck out for me.
Go out into the field and see if we could cause the attraction of some objects. And, there was some, let's call it activity, but not enough that I would consider enabling to publish. Believe me, if it was, I would have done it, or to be putting that paper together.
He's right. I think he would have published something by now. And but I also think that last that I heard from Nolan about the Skywatcher stuff is he was having issues corroborating all of the sensor data to line them up. But it's the same thing that when I was working on these data sets, when we were doing EEGs and heart rate monitor and the frequency analyzer all at the same time, but to sync it up was difficult. So, yeah, I think Skywatcher, to be able to publish anything of value, it would have already been done. Unfortunately, it just hasn't. It would have been nice to like follow up and been like, well, now they're shooting them down. What do you think about that? Now they're like shooting them down and summoning them, and we're getting the craft, and there's a lot that's going on. Supposedly with Skywatcher, so we're going to need some answers from Skywatcher. Would be nice. Yeah, so the one of the last things I'll go over is I had a little me and Brandon Fugal have a little history, man. I like Brandon Fugal, but I feel like I combat him a lot online of things. He doesn't even know who I am. Like I'm just some guy. He's always just responding, I think, to anybody, and it's been in a couple of my spaces and jumped up. But I don't think if you're like, hey, you and Astral, he wouldn't know who I am. But I think just there's a couple of things that I disagree with him on in what he's bringing to the table with like Skinwalker Ranch and the transparency that needs to happen if you're going to say you're contributing to the science of UFOs. And that's all. And my first run-in with him where it was a little bit tense was with the Kirkpatrick thing, where he said he caught Kirkpatrick and posted that picture of Kirkpatrick at the meeting with Skinwalker. Okay, fine. Like he lied or didn't remember him being at the meeting. Got him, bro. Like there it is. Then you're gonna go further with Stephen Greenstreet in their interview, Brandon Fugal did, and say that Kirkpatrick stood up during the meeting and said, we acknowledge the UFOs as being real. Like, you don't have to go into this stuff. Like, we know this is real. And I was like, damn, dude, you got that recording? Like, you just showed us the picture. And he said, I got the whole recording. You got the whole recording on video. Like, let's get that video out. Like, kick the can on Arrow. That's it. They're done. Finito, R.I.P. Arrow. That's it. And so I messaged him. I actually direct messaged him. I was like, hey, man, let me get that. Let me get that video. But I was like, you need to release that video. I was like, I can help you. And, I could blur the other guys out. I could just isolate Kirkpatrick, chop up the video. And he was like, no, I'm not going to release it. I don't want to put that out there. And I was like, dude, come on, man, you have to release it. And he didn't end up putting it out there. And so I ended up calling him out over on online because he responded to something where he was just like, you need to take my word for it as this happened. And I'm like, dude, you got the video. Like, that's so different than saying, oh, like I have a picture of him and he was there and he said this. So you're going to have to trust me on that. Like, we're turning back into a trust. Like, the evidence is the powerful part to post that of Kirkpatrick saying it would have been done. And Kirkpatrick standing up, a video of him being like, UFOs are real. We acknowledge that. Like, bro, that would have been, to me, I was just like, why he didn't do that. It was just very confusing. And so now we're getting to the Skinwalker Ranch thing where Fugal is talking about all the contributions that Skinwalker Ranch has done and science and all of this, except they haven't published anything. They haven't posted their data out for anybody to look at. And science isn't treated as some exclusive club. He's trying to make it seem like he doesn't post it. Oh, like, I'm not going to post it for anybody in Twitter. It shouldn't need to be posted for specific people. It should be public anyway. Everybody should have access to it. And only specific people, like number of scientists, are going to know what to do with it anyway. So it's not like, like Jimmy Buff is going to grab the data and be like, oh yeah, like they're not even know what to do with it. Like 99% of the people aren't going to even know what to do with the data. It's the one, but it is the scientific community to be able to peer review the stuff, replicate it, and possibly, independently confirm what it is. So for him to be like, oh no, like I'm not going to release it for somebody just on Twitter when they're just asking, you don't need it. You don't individually release it. You just post the data. That's what you do when you publish a journal article. You have to. And so if you want to publish anything in the journal, in the scientific world, like, and I'm sure it'll be like, well, the science has to change. Like everybody's like, oh, this whole thing, like, no, science doesn't need to change. There needs to be there's a standard put into place on what needs to be presented as actual evidence with data and methods and hypothesis and you know what I'm saying? Like there's a process that's in place. And what they're saying is our process, we're doing stuff that's so important and that's so out of science that we don't need to go by the standards of science. And if you're going to say that, then you have to present some sort of evidence that proves any of that. And to not present any evidence at all and then try to be held to a different standard is wild to me. It's wild. So they try to bring, and now we're trying to bring in congressmen to come out so that we're making this like skiff situation. Congressman, we want to come show you, instead of us releasing the data for the public to see and for everybody to analyze this on their own, we're going to bring in a congressman who's already biased into the UFO topic, way into this more than anybody else would be, that would have a scientific framework of approaching this. And we're just going to come in and be like, you can stay a couple nights at Skinwalker and we'll show you all this stuff. Bro, come on, man. I don't know. All right, we'll show the clip now after it crashed out on it, before it even showed it.
I think you all have opened up some questions that I have, and I'll be following up with the Pentagon about this.
To have Congressman Burchett say that he'll look into what we're finding at the ranch with officials at the Pentagon is huge. We need more allies within our government to help us. So this could be a very important development for our investigation.
Bro, the Pentagon, what, we already studied this with OSAP. We got all the data. Just like Burchett told the president that the president's not read into any of this stuff, like that didn't do anything. So yeah, I'm going to tell the Pentagon about what's going on at Skinwalker Ranch. Pentagon's going to be like, great, show us the data, send Arrow out there. The Pentagon's going to fucking be like, yo, send Arrow out there. Exactly what they're going to do. They're going to be like, all right, we'll send Arrow out there.
We really appreciate your attention to these matters, Congressman. We'd like to invite you at your convenience to come out to Skinwalker Ranch to see firsthand what we are documenting.
I'd be honored to be out there. I would love to go out there and scratch a little dirt with you.
Thank you, Congressman. We'll let you go.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much.
Burchett is by far the best character in ufology. Like, he is so funny. He has got charisma. He's got the attention of like the younger people. We were watching I think it was like the Capitol presentations, and Burchett got on for like a minute, and my son was listening till he lost it. Burchett had him rolling. Burchett, I think, is one of the best characters in ufology for sure. But I mean, we got people like Jay Stratton. Jay Stratton's here, and he's supposed to be one of the most important people. We've never heard from him really anything other than in Age of Disclosure. And he's done more on Skinwalker Ranch, and he's just been in the media more than anything else. Maybe he's done the work, but I don't know. Like the work that's been done behind the scenes, to me, it's not enough. We haven't got disclosure yet. So is it going to be? He's got a new book coming out. A lot of the timing that his media appearances are going to be will probably coincide and line up with that, which isn't very shocking. But it will be interesting to see what he has to say. For all of the work that he has done with the UAP task force and OSAP also. So we shall see. And then here's Brandon Fugal. Your boy ratioed me the worst times I have been ratioed online are when Brandon Fugal comes in my comments, and I'm just like, it destroys it. It completely destroys my post. So he writes this thing, and so I'm like, what a joke, dude. Like, instead of releasing the evidence, they're just going to invite Burchett out. And he comes in and writes like 6 paragraphs. He writes like 6 paragraphs on his stuff. All of this, and then he posts this picture, and it's like, hold on. The best part are all of the. We did a space that night, and the memes of him, like the Titanic and different things of people were doing. Oh man, I wish I would have saved some of those for the show. Just so good. But that just goes to show the community is so sharp, and on top, it's so funny of why I like the topic so much, of just the funny side of all of this. Like, why would you post that photo in a response? And because he knew that his like legion of people are gonna come, and reading the comments is so funny because people like it's not even a bad of a comment. I'm just like, come on, dude, like this is a joke. Like you're 7 seasons in and we haven't gotten any data yet. Like you're not gonna release it. And of course, like Mick West has my back, which is so funny because 4 years ago when I got on UFO Twitter and got into the topic, I was going at Mick West. I was like, Mick West, you don't know anything. You're an idiot. And 4 years later, Mick West like has my back for Brandon Fugal. It's just so funny how that's how that evolves, how people change with that. All right, so one more thing that I wanted to shout out, and actually I got a unboxing that I wanted to do. I have this thing that I wanted to do, and so this happened before. So let me just say, Rick Doty has returned like a phoenix, rising from the ashes of disclosure disinformation, and he's rising high with Chris Ramsey, and I'm a big fan of Chris Ramsey in his show, and it was just so polarized. He's doing things, Chris says, that are like very polarizing in the community, which I like that. And either way, sometimes I'll look at this and be like, damn, dude, like platforming Rick Doty is crazy, but that'll be like, it's such a good fucking interview. He goes into so much. It's such a good interview that I think, that's what you want an interview to be, is you're conflicted in the interview as it's going along. Like, you're like, damn, this is good, but damn it, Rick Doty. So props for having those reactions. But he talked about the Space Force of Lou Elizondo, of working with Lou Elizondo. And I just remember this, so I'll just go over this real quick.
I wanted to ask you about Lou Elizondo. There was mentioned some Space Force talk that you had run into Lou there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, he called me.
Yo, that was crazy, because I wonder if he listened to the space, because I posted the video when Doty did this. So did Red Panda. And then he was in my space. So he came into my space, Rick Doty did. And I asked him specifically, I recorded this, and I asked him specifically about this. And he confirmed it. And then he confirmed it. He said, yeah, Lou Elizondo invited me to come work at Space Force. And then the next day, he completely denied everything. He came out and said it was AI on the show. It was totally fake, and that all of it was made up, and none of it happened. And it was just the weirdest thing. It was the weirdest switch up ever for 24 hours of... it was like counter intel type of move, but yeah, he tells it again here.
Yeah, a long time ago, in 2021 or 22, and we talked on the phone, and he was wondering he asked me if I was still working, and I said no, which I wasn't. I was, other than the D's and Guy and things. And he said, would you be interested in working for Space Force in counterintelligence office? I said, what? And I don't know who he is, okay? I didn't know.
At that point, yeah.
I said, no, I'm not interested. I said, I know a colonel up there. And I said, did he give you my name? He said, well, I can't say that. And so that was it. And then another person from Space Force called me, weeks later or something, and asked me about working, if I was interested in doing some field work, if I could still get my security clearance back. He said, I understand you spoke with, and he gave me a name of somebody. Well, this was about in 2022, I'm sorry. I said, yeah, I just was up there. In January 2022, I was called up to Washington to the Defense IG's office. They wanted to talk to me about some of the cases I ran as an OSI agent. And I said, sure, do I get my security clearance back? Oops. And he said, yeah, you can talk about it. And they gave me a report. They passed a report to me. And the report is heavily redacted. He said, do you recognize this report? And I'm looking at it, and I go and I look, and I said, yeah, that's a report I did in 1981. But I said, I don't remember everything in there. You got one that's not redacted? He said, no, OSI won't give it to us. It's still classified. I said, why did you give me this? He said, we just need to know about it. I said, well, I can tell you what I remember. It's nothing about what we've spoken here. And I told him what I could remember. Well, then that person's name was given to me from that person from the Space Force. And I went back there in September of 2022, and they had an unredacted report that I talked to him about. So that's all. And I never worked for Space Force. I never promised to work for Space Force. So no.
What's Space Force's interest in wanting to work in wanting to hire you potentially for counterintelligence?
I never got that far.
But I mean, you can surmise.
Well, I think they wanted to contract me to do what I did before as a contractor and
cover up UFO stuff.
Yeah, spy on people
for you.
They wanted me to spy. They just wanted me to spy on people. Like, yo, that's crazy. And that whole story was just like a counter op right there. Like it went around in circles almost. That's crazy. Rick Doty back in it. Man, there were some crazy spaces years ago in which he popped in for hours. He would go in for hours and just talk. And I think that's one of the things the UFO community has the best questions to be able to ask a lot of these guys. All right, let me open it up here at the end. I'm going to got this package, right? Let's see. I'm always getting like new merch that I'm buying and creating. And I saw this online and I was like, that would actually be cool to create something like this. And then I'll be walking around and people are like, well, where can I get this? Where can I get that? And I'm like, I just made it. There's nowhere you can get it. So I'll probably at some point end up, this is nice. All right. So I got this hat. Pretty sick. I like this point right here. That's not bad. All right, wait, let me flip around my camera. Sick. All right, man. Well, new merch, new video. Appreciate everybody for coming by. Hit that like and subscribe button. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. I'll probably do a live stream here pretty soon as well. So, shout out to everybody who came by. Throw a comment in there. Just let me know what you thought from all the stuff that we went over today. Matthew Brown. We had Jeff Nuzatelli in there as well. Leslie Keene had some good questions from the AMA and the Reddit. And then we also went into, the recent stuff. What else did we go into? I felt like, Brandon Fugal, Skinwalker Ranch, just what Eric Burleson was saying, the resurgence of Tom DeLonge coming back into the topic. Hopefully for more appearances. So we'll see about that. And other than that, man, really appreciate everybody for coming by. Have a good one. Peace.